Howdy YouTube, and welcome to another episode of the Gunman. So in this video here, we're going to be taking you guys through the paintwork on this black Nissan Patrol. So all of the original paintwork has to come off the exterior body of the car and then get re-primed and repainted. So as you can see there, we start to strip all of the paint off. We've been doing it dry these days instead of using the chemical stripper, so we just get it with some 40 or 80 grit and just smash it off, and then hit it with the 120 to finish it off, and then sand the edges up, make sure they're nice and smooth as well, get all the parts into the spray booth and apply the correct primers. So what we have to do is get a edge primer down. Now this is by PPG's spec, so we do have to follow a procedure to get warranty, of course. So as you can see there, getting the panels nice and clean, prep sealing them down, using extra microfibers to make sure that you're not left with any fine metal shards or metal flakes in there. You want to make sure it's nice and clean before you get your primers on, and then get the edge primers down. I'm not the biggest fan of this edge primer, so that is the PPG DP612 edge primer, and then over the top of that we have to go on with the 219 as a primer surfacer, not as a primer filler, so it does get a little bit extra thinners. And from there what I'm doing is putting an extra couple of coats of the shaded primer. So this is the LVP 207. Depending on the color of the car, I may just leave it in the 219 primer, but yeah, a lot of the time we do have to shade the primer, and that's mainly just going to make it so that when we go to put our color down, we're going to get good coverage. As you can see here, this is the rest of the body. So yeah, there's quite a fair bit of work involved in doing these resprays, but we have got it down to a fine art. I've got a helper out there who helps me do a lot of the prep work, and I'm actually gradually training him up to do a bit of paint work. Not quite up to this kind of work yet, but yeah, it's good to have somebody with drive and ambition, and yeah, he's keen to learn, and that's the way I see it. Is like, that's half the battle, is wanting to do something, and as long as you want to do it, well then the only thing that's in the way is yourself. That's the way I see it anyway. So he prepped these doors up for me. Of course I'll go over them before I paint them. I'll make sure I'm happy with the edges. I might have to just give a little bit here and there, a bit of a tickle up, make sure there's no sanding scratches in it, and etc, etc. But when I do ever find a fault in his work, I tell him, you know, and anyone that doesn't want to be told the faults in their work, they're not worth working with, because that's just the egomaniac that can never admit they're wrong. And yeah, like I'll tell him on this door, like I found a few block marks, right? So we blocked the primer down with 320 grit first, nothing too aggressive, just to give it a light block down, right? Because we really only have sort of primer surfaced these panels, we haven't primer filled them. I will block any repairs, so if there's any body filler repairs, I'll block that with say 180 grit or 240 grit, something a bit coarser. But for the most part, it's just give it a quick hit with the 320 grit, then we'll hit it with 400 to get rid of the 320, and then 500, and then finish it off with 800. And just in case you're wondering, just for reference, one of these usually takes me and my one prepper around 3 days. If we're really banging them out, if we've got heaps of work lined up, we can get them done in like sort of 2.5 days. But yeah, so if we're just sort of taking our time and just going at a regular pace, generally it's about 3 days, and that's just for the paint work, just to be completely clear. And then you've obviously got the remove and refit on top of that, and the polishing. But as you'll see soon, like these jobs are coming up super clean. I have refined this procedure to a fine art, I would like to say. I've come a long way on these patrols, and I think one of the biggest things was sanding that primer down. So by the PPG spec, they do recommend doing a non-sanding application, so just take it into the booth as a bare metal shell, get your primers down and do it all as a wet on wet procedure. So primers, and then straight over the top of that with your color, and then your clear. But I was getting too much pullback, too much orange peel, and that was me that made that one up. And look, the boss didn't necessarily like it, because when we were originally going through these jobs, it was recommended by PPG to be a wet on wet procedure. Now, of course, sanding it down, you're not going to lose any warranty, but you do lose a bit of time. But the way I see it, for an extra day's worth of labor, you guys wait around until you see this job done. It is just incredible. Like, really clean, really glassy, really glossy, minimal to no sort of dieback or pinch back. But yeah, as you may have noticed, the Pro Light TE21.3, that's the gun that I was using for clear coat. It actually sort of caught me off guard. I got a bit of a run in around the handle on this door, and on one of the rear doors down the other end of the booth, I did get another big run. So if you hang around for a few minutes, you'll see me redo that door. It wasn't a massive run. It was kind of like a medium run. It's one of those ones that, like, we do pretty damn high quality work here, a little bit above the average panel shop. So I just made the executive decision to just put it back through the booth as I'm painting something else. It's going the same color anyway, rather than having a bit of a flat spot where that run is. Because if you know what you're looking for, you'll always be able to, you know, tell that someone's tried to remove a run. And depending on the quality of the job and the car, you know, maybe I could have, say, blocked it out and polished it up, but yeah, sometimes it's just easier to redo it. It's less time, less effort, just whack it through the booth again. You know, it's one of those things when you get a run, especially one of those big ones, you can spend quite a bit of time removing it, right? And then you'll buff it up and you're just never quite happy with it, you know? Like, it's okay, but then you're umming and ahhing, you're talking to the other guys about it, you're like, oh, what do you reckon? It'll be okay. You push it out the door. And then let's just say, even if it doesn't come back, like, you're not quite happy with it, like, you know it's there. And I guess that's one of those things. But either way, we're in the booth with the rest of the body of the car. Same procedure, got it all in there, masked it up, gave it a good prep sol down, and tack rag, and yeah, now in with the PPG One Visit EnviroBase. So the One Visit is an additive that I've been putting in the PPG lately, and I've sort of been putting it through its paces, and well, I tell you what, it's even better than I originally thought it was. So originally I loved it, and then I was sort of treating it a little bit too much like Stando Blue. So with Stando Blue, if the edges start drying on you, that's sort of a nightmare. It can be a bit of a nightmare. But whereas with this stuff, if you get the edges starting to dry before you put your second coat down, it's really not that big of a deal. Like, it doesn't mottle up on you. It's nearly an advantage over the Stando Blue. So still kind of early days with that PPG One Visit, but look, I'm loving it. I'm actually really loving it. So yeah, either way, I've got that base coat down. Obviously, I've just showed you a little bit of each stage. Now we've got the clear coat down. DV1 for base coat, DV1 for clear. The clear coat that I'm using is the PPG LVC 131 clear coat, which is a relatively new clear coat, at least here in Australia anyway. For those of you in the rest of the world, say America and the UK, it is, or Europe, it is known as D8131. So I believe it's exactly the same product, it's just been rebranded for use here in Australia. So absolutely love this 131 clear. It goes down slick and smooth and easy, and it's got a high gloss to it, high gloss retention, minimal chance of overloading it because it's a good viscosity, like it's a good thickness. All I do is just make sure I get the temperature of the clear to 30 degrees, and it's ideal, you know. So in the colder months, I'll just heat it up. So instead of using a viscosity cup, I use a temperature gauge, right? I know that this clear here will spray well at 30 degrees, and I know it will be the right viscosity at 30 degrees all year round, so I don't need to put it through a viscosity cup. As long as it's the right temperature, it will spray right, you know. So hopefully that makes sense to you. But yeah, absolutely love it. As I said, so the clear gun that we're using is the Gambler Edition DV1 C2 with the 1.3mm fluid tip on it. So the reason that on the doors I decided to use the Pro Light was I'm working on a video, and that'll be coming out in the next couple of weeks, so stay tuned for that. But is the Pro Light still relevant in 2025? So that's what I like to do. Use the gun that I'm reviewing and then go back to the other guns and sort of go to and from from the guns and sort of really put them through their paces and sort of play them off against each other. So when I do criticize a gun, it does come from a place of objectivity. You know, it's not just, oh, I get a feeling that I prefer this gun. It's like, no, like this one does have a bigger fan, this one is a bit faster, this one, you know, that's where it sort of comes from. But there you go, guys. I'm really happy with the way that job came up. I did have two big chunkers in the quarter panel on the passenger side, or on the left hand side. They did end up polishing out, but apart from that, it's a very clean job, really. And that's that door which I had a bit of a run down the bottom of. Just whack it back through the booth and off you go. But yeah, the one visit, it goes down really smooth and slick, and that definitely helps with the gloss retention. And yeah, you wait for a couple more minutes, you'll see it out there once it's all together, and it just looks incredible. Like, this is probably would have to be the best patrol that I've done. Like the glassiest, the glossiest, the cleanest, all things considered, the best patrol I've ever done. Is it absolutely perfect? No. But even just little things like that rear door jam, that's another thing that I made that call. Originally, we used to just sort of jump in off that edge, and I tried doing some special masking and jumping it in off the first edge with the primer, and then backing it up onto the second edge for the clear, but I was never quite happy with it. You'd always get an edge, so I just said, nah, you know what, we'll just paint that whole rear door jam. There's a little spot down the bottom that you can sort of do a false edge mask off, and that way I don't actually have to do any sort of fade outs. You just sort of buff that little edge in if you do get a minor edge, and Bob's your uncle. But there you go, that's it the next day. I'm pretty sure the detailer had started polishing it at this point, but I do have a rule of thumb. I don't let my detailers start denibbing the paint the same day, especially with the kind of work that we do. We do a lot of resprays here, and like I said, we do a little bit higher quality than your average shop. So yeah, we're not usually, there's no rush. And if there is a rush, it's like, okay, well, you know, if you've got to buff it to get it out that day, but that never really happens at this shop. So I've just told my detailers, I'm like, mate, just let it gas out overnight. You're not doing yourselves any favor either, because you'll buff it up, it'll look buffed up, you give it a week, and then you take it outside and those sanding scratches will come back, like your micro sanding scratches, your denibbing marks will come back anyway. So I found out you're best off just letting it do its thing, let it gas out. Another thing I like to do these days is use slow thinners. I mean, it is in the middle of summer, but slow hardener. Yeah, I like to use slow hardener, especially on a respray. I've just found that as far as gloss retention goes, you are best off using the slow hardeners. Maybe a standard or a medium hardener in the winter, but even in winter, you're pretty safe using a slow hardener. It doesn't mean that you're just going to go and get, big runs, although you can if you're not careful. But yeah, I'll tell you what, this bonnet and tailgate, they came up crazy clean, and the gloss retention is just incredible. I tell you what, that one visit and this 131 clear, it makes all the difference, man. And if nothing else, it proves to me that I was right. All those years that I criticised PPG, I was right. I've got the proof. This is the proof. Because now they've brought out new products. I'll say, hey, look, those old products, they're still not that good. The new ones, they're awesome, right? I just felt like for all this time I was being held back by average products, and there's only so much you can do with certain products. You can only push certain products so far. Like that 105 clear, which I used to use, I always had to leave it a little bit hungry, because if you pushed it that little bit more, bang, solvent bomb. Bang, runs. And if you go to not enough, well, then you just get that real sort of average orange peel. But now I'm really happy with what I'm able to get, the results I'm able to get. So as you can see on this one here, we did the front bull bar and the rear bumper cover. Just a quick scuff down, fix the imperfections. Yeah, so we don't always do the bumpers, but this is it. Once it's all finished off, looking $1,000,000. I reckon this one, it looks tough. I reckon it looked good with the black wheels. I like the little sort of chrome highlights and chrome trims on it. This thing looks tough, man. I reckon it looks sick. And have a look at that reflection. You can shave in that thing. I swear, you can shave in it. It's like a mirror, mate. How's that? Killer. Love it. Absolutely love it, guys. So hopefully you appreciated this video. It did take a little bit longer than your average edit. You know, I had over an hour and a half's worth of footage in it, so yeah, a little bit of extra time editing it, but hopefully it come through in the production quality, and hopefully you guys appreciated it. If you did, be sure to give it a big thumbs up. If you want to support the show, be sure to go and check out spraygunsdirect.co.uk. That's where I get all my spray painting, spray guns and equipment from. So until next time, get out there and paint some shit. Coming out.